Welcome back to Tamako Homestead. If you are here for the first time, my name is Craig and I am setting up a homestead from scratch. There is nothing but bare land over here and I'm bringing you along on that journey. And today is one of those big days where you learn a core skill that is required for farming or homesteading that I know absolutely nothing about. And I'm assuming you also don't, unless you are a farmer or a homesteader. And that is fencing. I have never put up a fence before. I have no clue what to do. But what we need to do is this massive fire break here is splitting my neighbor's property over there and ours. And today I'm going to be putting in a dividing fence so we can officially split off our two properties from one another. Like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've done a ton of research, so I'm going to share that research with you. But I suppose don't take this as a how-to guide. Take this as a join me on the journey, see what I've learned, and do you agree with it or not? If it's a great success, then who knows, it might become a pretty cool how-to video. But it's very much a, I'm gonna wing this. My neighbor's also gonna be here. We're gonna be doing this together, winging it together. But let's see how it turns out. Yeah, hold fingers for us. Just quickly before we get to the fencing, this tree is doing pretty well. And most of the trees are doing pretty well. We had some pretty good rain last night and the basins are working. If you have a look around, the soil is pretty dry. But if you have a look at the basin, look at how it is still super wet and super moist. It's so good. It means it's working. It's collecting rainwater, stopping runoff. Here's another tree. If we look down, it's working. It's working, an absolute charm. But for the sake of transparency, and we know not everything in homesteading and farming goes to plan, I have got some pretty tired trees and I've lost a few. And I can put that down to, this one is not dead. Everything is still green, everything's still turning, flexible, if you scratch the bark, you can still see green cambium underneath, which is good. The first three looking good, the last two looking a little tired, but there's some new growth coming out of both of those. And why this happened is I planted at the wrong time of the year. I thought we were kind of going down in temperatures and the rain was coming up. And I haven't been here for 2 weeks and I haven't been able to water. And we didn't get rain. And all the rain was on the forecast, it just never happened. So the fact that I have of these 5 here, 2 or 3 that are absolutely thriving, shows to me that these trees are going to do well. It's just like any new tree. It needs quite a lot of water just to get established. But yeah, there are 3 thriving. So the other side up at the top, which I did in the previous video up there, they're a lot more tired because remember, I drove over the pipe, lost all the pressure, didn't have water, so I couldn't water those nearly as much as I needed to. Okay, so what is the fence plan? Well, part of my research that I did, and I did a lot of it, was to figure out what brace am I going to use. And ultimately it came down to the H brace, or, I mean, it has so many different names. A diagonal brace, a floating brace, A-shape, A-frame brace. But in any case, what I've opted for is the diagonal floating brace. So what that is like we have here, there'll be a support at the post, I think it's called a dead man's post, at the back, and the fence's pressure and weight is going to be on that one. This is then going to be diagonal, but not in the ground. It's going to be floating on pieces of concrete on the hard Karoo ground. And then we're going to have some high tensile wire right at the bottom that we're going to tension, meaning this is tensioned in towards the main post, which is then putting pressure on the top, so that when the fence's pressure is pulling down, everything is then tensioned against one another. Why I'm doing this is pretty much down to, I've never done this before. And this method, you have one post in the ground, you have one connection. If you have an H brace, you have two posts in the ground, you have two connections at the top, plus you need diagonal strengthening, tensioning. And for me, having not done this before, there's too much that can go wrong. There are too many failure points. And yes, H braces are by far the most popular, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with a diagonal brace. It is just as strong. It just means one post in the ground, and then right at the middle, I'm going to have one post and then two diagonals, so that it's pulling both ways. So we're not doing 160 meters down on a single tensed wire. That's just too much. And then as you can see, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strings of wire, and that's high tensile. What is it? I think it's 2 point something mils, so it's reasonably thick, high tensile. And then we got the jackal wire, which is not high tension, it's just normal, and we're going to attach the jackal wire to the tensioned wires, exactly like we have here. So you can pull the fence, this you can't move. And then what we're going to be doing as well is we're going to be incorporating Y posts. I think in the US they're called T-posts. And the reason why is because if I bring you here, look at this. And this isn't the only one. We have snapped posts everywhere. And it's because of the baboons. If you have a big male baboon sitting on an aged piece of wattle, the post is just going to snap. And because it's high tensioned wire, when the post snaps, the wire snaps. So I've actually got a few pieces of wire that I need to rejoin and retension, because the baboons sat here like this one, snapped, but luckily this wire didn't snap. But you can see the connections snapped here and snapped at quite a few other places. So we're going Y posts. It's a little bit more expensive, but you're never ever going to need to replace a Y post. These wattle droppers, I think this is only 1.5 years old and they're already breaking and snapping, so you're probably going to have to replace those a bit more often. So yeah, that's the idea, that's the plan. We just need to do only 2 holes. So literally only need to do 2 holes. If we did an H brace, we'd have to do 2, 4, 6 holes. 5 holes, sorry. So a huge difference in effort. But now that all the material is offloaded, we can start the journey. Rookie mistake number one. Don't learn or haven't learned how to uncoil high tensile wire. So in the beginning, you'll see I got completely tangled up. Luckily I have gloves because I would have been shredded to pieces otherwise. I seemed like I was uncoiling it from the right direction, but it turns out I wasn't. So it was only once I unwound everything and it started then looping, it just looped very, very easily. But that roll is 50 kilograms. So like I broke every doctor's order with my back, pulling a 50 kilo thing. But yeah, now I've got the bakkie and I'm going to drive up and down with the bakkie and just stop, unwind, stop, unwind. But what we've done is there's a single wire over here, and this is the guide wire. It's connected to the top and the bottom, so we know where the line is running to set the posts. We need the diagonal supports and all the other posts pretty much in line with this. So that was the first task done. Now we can mark out where the post needs to go. But damn, now I know why when I see these videos and they're on the back of the trucks, they've got those uncoilers. That's why, because the wire just runs. If you don't have that, oh, my arm's getting tired. Whew, carrying around a 50 kilo roll of wire, it's pretty intense. One out of 5 strands done, but I suspect the other 4 are going to go a hell of a lot easier after making mistakes on the first one, and also once the first one is tensioned, well, not tensioned, but once we have some tension up, it's going to be easier to pull. So lessons learning, let's try that again. Learning lessons quickly today, and it's quite hot, so sweat is dripping, heart's beating, blood's pumping. It's just so much fun. That was rough. This ground is so hard, but here we have it. Look, this thing is solid, rock solid. I suppose the benefit of the ground being so hard is once you recompact it, you don't need to concrete it in. So what we did, and it's a handy tip if you're in the Karoo or you got hard clay soil in the summer, is with the auger, go a bit, and then hit it with a crowbar. We actually had a Y or T-post with a sharp edge, knocked that in, broke up some of the clay, go with the auger, broke up some rock, go with the auger. So bit like that, works really well, and we managed to get it 600 mils in the ground, and the post is solid. So now what's going to happen is we're going to cut the 45s, well, I think it's actually 30 degrees, 30-degree angle, so we can lean it up there, tension it up. So I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but let's see. So one of the really important things about that guide wire is showing where that diagonal support should be. So we just respun the tension wire, that main guide wire, and it turns out the diagonal where we thought it was straight, just from visualizing it, was about like 30 centimeters off. So it's really important to have that guide wire to get your angles right. So now we've cut the top and the bottom both off at the angles, so it's going to be flush against the post, flush against the floor. We just need to connect the top with a nice thick, I think it's a 3.5 mil high tension wire, and then the bottom piece, and we've got our first brace done. Really looking forward to it. So the whole diagonal post brace thing is actually pretty cool. So it all leverages against each other, I suppose. So we've got the main post, and then up there we've got a join, and I've just knocked wire nails, those rounded ones. I've just knocked them in the top, and then at a 45-degree angle down, one slightly behind and below. And if we look at the tension at the bottom here, with the tension nerve there, the more you tension the bottom of this bar, the more this bar pushes up against that one, which then tensions that wire. And then as soon as this one wants to push forward, it's pushing against the wood, which is then pushing against the tensioner, which is then holding the bottom. So everything is in a triangle tensioning against each other. It's pretty cool. Like, we really struggled with that one to get it tensed, and then we realized, but as soon as we tension the bottom, it's going to push up to the top, and it's really worked like that. This is a solid brace. Can't move it, can't move the top one. I think you might have seen me leaning against that to try and pull it over. Couldn't do that. And then just having this permanent one in place, in winter when it's a bit colder, then we can probably tension it to the correct tension. But yeah, it took super long to get this one done. I'm really hoping the next ones are going to go much faster. Guys, this has been a day. It's 6:30 in the evening. You can see it's getting dark. Got a lot done, but still a lot to do. So I got three out of the 5 on this side done. Got the brace is holding up really well. It's super solid, and these are doing pretty well as well. I think it's pretty clean work for somebody who's never done this before. And then we've got one running on the other side, and I just need to add another 2 onto the other side, so we've got equal tension on both sides of the post. But yeah, there's a huge amount of force on this wire. It's crazy, and how this one little device holds it is just mind-blowing. So I wish I could have reported a finished fence for you today, but it's okay. Next time we will definitely be finishing it. I think it looks pretty damn cool, considering it's a whole bunch of rookies that have never done this before. Yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you got some thrills out of it. Totally bizarre, huge rainstorm just completely out of the middle of nowhere. But yes, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me on the journey, and the next time we'll get all of this fencing attached to the actual fencing and give you a fence. Kind of promised you a fence this video, didn't get there. That's what happens. Thank you all. I appreciate you all, and until next time, happy homesteading.